It's a dog that stole thousands of hearts on our 11 Alive Facebook page after we first told you about the horrific abuse he endured. Now a very big moment in his recovery as police come closer to tracking down the woman who nearly starved him to death. Our Caitlin Ross has been following the story from the very beginning.
Here's how Mikey looked when we first met him in Clayton County a few weeks ago. His ribs poking out. He was too weak to stand. He weighed just half of what he was supposed to. Look at what he looks like now. He's cuddled up with his foster mom, watching a movie. He's been slowly making progress over this past month as police make progress in their case. They've taken out warrants for the arrest of 19-year-old Jakisha Tilley. She allegedly starved Mikey until a maintenance worker at her apartment complex saw what was going on and raised the alarm. She's wanted on 3 counts of aggravated animal cruelty. Now police are looking for her while Mikey recovers. He's gained weight, and you can see he's walking on his own now, still wagging his tail.
All right, Caitlin, some good news there. Thank you.